And hi, everyone. Welcome to eBizChat, where it's all about business. My name is Riggs Anati, and I'm joined today by Dr. Susan Nash. And in studio, we've got Harold Muliati. We've got a great guest today. He is Jon Ferrara, the founder of Nimble.com, which is a social media CRM, as well as pretty much the godfather of CRM and contact management on the whole. He was one of the original founders of GoldMine, a great tool. I think I was on that for way over a decade. And he came back with a very different tool, just as good in a different way. And here we go.
This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation. Visit us at www.relatecasts.net. Thanks.
And we are back, and in that center position of power, as we like to call it, we've got Jon Ferrara. How you doing, Jon?
I'm doing fantastic, Rick, and thank you so much for inviting me for a conversation with your community.
Oh, yeah, it's an honor and always a pleasure to see you, too. It's been a while. Last time I think we interviewed you was about 5 years ago, maybe 6. It's been quite a while. I think you had just started Nimble a little bit before that, and always good things. And, I was thinking about you the other day, and, I've watched a lot of your webinars. And by the way, if you haven't seen Jon in his webinars that he does with Nimble, he interviews some of the best people in the industry. These are sales, marketing people, relationship people, business owners, you name it. And one thing I've noticed that as I watch your webinars is that you really provide, aside from the software, Nimble.com, you provide an enormous amount of giving. And I really say that sincerely. There's so many things I have to thank you for just from watching the shows and what you've done, that it's absolutely great. And you reminded me of a person I know. He's an author, 2 people I know, actually. Have you ever read the book The Go-Giver?
No.
Oh, you'll love that book. You're a go-giver. That's why I say that. It was written by Bob Berg, who wrote another book on sales called, I think it's called, is it Unlimited Leads or Limitless? I forgot the name. Endless Referrals. I'm so sorry. Endless Referrals. And he wrote a book with John David Mann called The Go-Giver, about giving and how much more you get when you give. And it's a great book. And I was looking at the things you do and listening to all your webinars, and you're a go-giver all the way. So, thanks for what you do to the community and the software and all the help. I started with GoldMine way back when. I think I was on your first version of GoldMine and stayed on it for quite a while, pretty much until after you sold the product.
So you're talking about DOS?
That was on DOS. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I loved it. It was great. And since then, you've done a lot of stuff. But, a lot of people talk about contact management and relationship management. And you really stress the relationship part of things, of how you don't sell, you create a relationship first. And a lot of people don't get that. And how did you come about that point of view?
Well, I think it's all about being top of mind with your prospects, your customers, and ideally their influencers as well. And if you are top of mind with your constituency, and I call the people around you your constituency, because most people think about prospects and customers as all they really need to engage in order to grow their business. But there's really a community that you build around your business. At Nimble, I connect to editors, analysts, bloggers, influencers, third-party developers, investors, advisors, and prospects and customers. And so how can I build a brand that attracts a community that helps me achieve the things I want to do? It's really all about relationships, because what you want is when your prospects and customers need your products and services, you want them to pick up the phone and call you and drag their friends with them. How do you do that? You do it by giving your knowledge away. People don't want to hear about how great your products are or how great you are. So stop talking about yourself, stop talking about your products, and start talking about how you can help other people become better, smarter, faster. Because if you do that, they'll see you as a trusted advisor and they'll reach out to you. But ultimately, the reason why I love relationships is, guys, I love people. I actually get powered by connecting with others, finding and learning about them, and ideally finding a way to gift them with something, right? To blow some wind in their sails. And here's a simple example. When you next time you're checking out at the market, rather than looking down at your phone and doing whatever you do with your phone all day long, put it down and look that person in the eye, give a present, maybe a gift of your smile, and just feel what that does for you. You get powered by that. And so I get powered by people and relationships. That's why I build them. And I do it because I really believe that I'm on this planet to help other people grow. And actually, let me step back from that. I believe that I'm on this planet in the brief period that I'm here to grow my soul. And I feel that I best grow my soul when I help other people grow their soul. And so that's why I love relationships. It helps me to connect with others, learn about them, add some value to them. And ultimately, that's how I grow in life and how I build memories out of moments.
So I have a question. And I'm so glad that I have the chance to meet you and talk about this, because I totally agree with everything that you're saying. But I have a question. How is this even possible during COVID?
Well, the thing is that ideally, the more digital we get, the more human we need to be, as my dear friend Brian Kramer says. And so you need to take your digital relationships into face-to-face, because that's where the most energy exchange happens. But it's amazing what you can do to stay top of mind with relationships that you've invested in. And so let's talk about relationships for a second. It takes most of the energy to create a relationship, but to maintain a relationship just takes a little nudge every once in a while. Same with a car. It takes most of the gasoline to get it up to 60 miles an hour, but to stay at 60, not so much. Rocket ships, most of the fuel to get into orbit, but not stay in orbit. And so if you want to maintain a relationship, the easiest way to do it in a COVID environment is to periodically walk in somebody's digital footprint and find a way to add value to them by commenting on what they're doing, by sharing what they're saying. And occasionally, I love to get old school, and I love to pick up the phone because it's the next best thing to being there.
Well, I like what you're saying, because I've had, like many people, a lot of working relationships and things with people that I've never met face to face. So I know that it is possible, but it seems like it's so transactional and usually based around a task or a project. And
well, see, that's the business persona. So I like to say that people connect on the 5 F's of life: family, friend, food, fun, and fellowship. These are the things that we have in common. In the old days, I used to teach people, when you go in somebody's office, look at their walls, look at the books they read, the degree of the school they went to, the knickknacks they collect. Why? In order to figure out what you have in common with them, to share that with them, in order to build the intimacy and trust that you need to build to get them to open up to you, so that so you can learn more about them and find ways to add value. And today we can do that digitally. And the issue I see, though, is what you were just talking about: the logging the notes, scheduling the next task or action, and maintaining a pipeline and all that stuff is really the result of the relationship and the organization and segmentation of these contacts. But the people part, I think, is the human part. And that's how people will remember you. And so they're not going to remember that you sold them something, or that you both are professionals in geology or whatever it is, but they're going to remember you because you have commonalities in barbecue or backpacking or family or whatever sort of softer side of passions. And that's why in the old days, we took people to ball games. We took them to restaurants. We took them to our home in order to build that connection and get to know them. And today you could use social media places to do that. And it's actually kind of fun and easy, but it's hard if you don't have the right tools.
And getting to the point of tools, Nimble is a very different kind of CRM. You really put social into CRM, the whole part of the relationship, and because most customer relationship managers, they're not really CRMs. I mean, where it comes to the relationship part, it's just really a fancy way to keep all of your database information, keep your contacts, your calendars. Not a lot of not a lot of relationships per se. But yours is actually a social media CRM. I mean, it's one of the few I know of. I don't think there's any other one quite like it. I've seen some that kind of go halfway, but don't really go all the way. They're add-ons to it or patches to it. How did you decide to take that direction? Well,
it really is the foundation of where I started, which is contact management. So let me give you a history of contact management and CRM, and then take us to where we are today. So,
and by the way, let me interrupt you. You were a salesperson originally. You did sales.
I did, and that's why I built GoldMine, because I struggled at sales. So back when I was in sales, I got leads. What's a lead? It's a piece of paper with phone numbers of big corporation IT people, and I cold call them. I'd make notes on that paper. I put my appointment in what they called a day timer. It's a leather-based calendar contact thing. And then I put my forecast in a spreadsheet. And it wasn't just me touching the customer, but I had a systems engineer and I had a manager in my field office. Then I had people in corporate and product and service and support. And how do you manage the relationship when multiple people from the company are touching the contact? And I need to be able to manage hundreds, if not thousands of contacts, and then be able to reach out and nurture and build relationships. And I looked for a software tool that would help me to do that. And I couldn't find it. I found a plugin to Symphony called Act, which allowed you to manage tasks and notes on contacts. I found a program called Telemagic, which was a notes and recall date filing system. And I found something called Snap, which is a pipeline management tool. But there was no Outlook. There was no tool that integrated email, contact, and calendar, and sales and market automation. And there was no CRM or market automation program. So I quit my job and I designed the original GoldMine. I got together with a college buddy of mine and he built it. And that was, in the beginning, it wasn't CRM. It was really something that would power me and the team to engage contacts, to build relationships that resulted in sales. And as GoldMine grew, we built in more of the SFA and the CRM tools. SFA is Salesforce automation, so nurture automated marketing stuff. And CRM is reporting and pipeline management, because management wants to know what's happening with leads. They want to know how many phone calls you did, et cetera. But the sales rep doesn't really care about that as much as they care about how many people can I connect to and what kind of results can I drive. So the heart of CRM is relationship management or contact management. CRM stands for customer relationship management, but today's CRMs really should stand for customer reporting management, because they're really about command and control and the design for management. How did that happen? Well, Microsoft doesn't innovate, they iterate. They wait for somebody else to build the market and they come up with something good enough, and they saw the power of what we built with GoldMine and they come up with Outlook. So Outlook became the contact manager that people sort of use for email, but they lived in GoldMine for the CRM aspect. But then as enterprises adopted CRM, things like Siebel and Salesforce were built, and people started to use those as their enterprise CRM. But the thing is that the biggest cause of failure of CRM is lack of use, because you have to go to it to use it, and you work for it. You have to Google people before you meet with them, then go log who they are and log what you did, and nobody does that. And so I think that CRM has lost its way. They've forgotten about relationship management. They've forgotten about powering the customer-facing business team members like salespeople. And that's why when you buy CRM today, you have to go out and buy a sales engagement tool like SalesLoft or Outreach for templated email outreach and tracking. And you have to buy sales intelligence software like LinkedIn Sales Navigator or DiscoverOrg, because basically CRMs are dumb. They don't really tell you anything you don't know. And that's why I think people love Nimble, is because it automatically builds your contact records, enriches them with people and company data, synchronizes the interactions that you're doing, and then works where you work, because you don't work in your CRM, you work in your email and in social.
Yep.
The thing that's so frustrating and that you've clearly been able to transcend is this idea that you are suddenly working for your software. I mean, it is just so onerous to have to do all that.
Yeah. And you know what? I never learned how to touch type. Salespeople aren't good at data entry and they don't like to do it. And that's why most CRMs fail because of lack of use. The second reason they fail is bad data. And so even if you beat them to type the data in, it's going to decay like rotten fish over time. I like to joke, but it's true. The reason they call it Salesforce is that you have to force salespeople to use it. And so I think what people should think about right now, the people listening to this today, is where are you managing your Golden Rolodex, your brand and your network or your net worth? Where do you manage your contacts today? Personally, you listening to me, you manage them in Google Contacts or iCloud or Office 365 and LinkedIn and Twitter maybe and Facebook. But these aren't good contact managers. You can't even get your data out of LinkedIn anymore. And so you need a personal CRM if you're listening to this today, because you want to be able to bring your brand and your network to work with you and use it in whatever business tools they're giving you at the office. And then when you leave, which you will eventually leave wherever you work, you could take that network with you because you've been managing your own personal CRM. So Nimble's great as a corporate CRM, for your company CRM, but you know what? It's fantastic for yourself, for individuals that they really should be managing their network better than they do today.
Now, one thing I hear a lot from salespeople that I've talked to throughout the years, especially ones that have been around for a long time, they're getting older, but they're really good at sales, and they're finding challenges today. The old sales method doesn't work well. It's harder to get a hold of people. What we're noticing is, for example, people don't respond to emails that much. They don't respond that much to phone calls. It's like, how do you get people to respond? How do you get to that point of finding that thing in common? Now, Nimble, I think, helps. I've actually met people through Nimble that we just had something in common with, and it worked. It really does work because all of a sudden you have that point of commonality, and that's a jumping point. That's a good starting point. But how do you work people today where everybody seems oversaturated with either social media or just email on the whole?
Well, I think that the best way to be top of mind with your prospects, your customers, and their influencers is to not try to sell to them. I think you want to become their trusted advisor so that when they do need your products and services, they actually call you. And it's really simple to do. You give your knowledge away. So I think that most business people listening to this today have forgotten more about their products and services than their customers will ever know in their life. And if you just dripped your knowledge on a daily basis, rather than telling people how great you are, or your products are, you basically teach them how they could be great. And then what will happen is they will call you. Or if you do reach out to them, they'll gladly take your connection because they see you as a trusted advisor or a thought leader in your industry as opposed to a sales rep who's trying to bag them and tag them. And so here's a really simple formula. Figure out where your community have conversations in around the areas of promise of your products and services. So my community might be wanting to be better, smarter, and faster at social sales and marketing. So I will, in the morning, read content about how to be better at social sales and marketing. I'll share that content on my identity. So I build identities in the places where they have conversations, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. And then I'll share content in the morning. In the afternoon, I'll spend 20 minutes listening and engaging with those people. And the ones that make sense for me to build and maintain a relationship, I'll Nimble them, which means I use my browser plugin. It'll automatically bring in that contact into Nimble, enrich it with the people and company data, and I could then follow up right there. And I'll give you an example of this interaction. So because I share content on a daily basis to help people become better, smarter, faster at things like social sales and marketing, there was this person that commented on Twitter to a post by somebody from Salesforce. And the way that they commented on it basically led me to want to engage with them. But I didn't know who they were. Their name was Rand. I don't know, who's Rand? So I Nimbled them, and Nimble told me that they're head of data and CRM at Disney. So it gave me their name and their title and their phone number and their email, all built in with Nimble automatically. And I was able to reply more effectively in the moment in that stream And I was able to send him an email right from within Twitter, because I have Nimble plugged in the browser. It sits there within any application I'm in. And I'm able to reach out to him. And he kind of gave me permission by the way he was talking about me in that stream. And Nimble gave me his email. I was able to send a templated email that was personalized to him with tracking so I could see when he opens it. And that conversation shifted from the soft place in Twitter to a firmer place in email, to a LinkedIn invite, to a LinkedIn conversation, to a calendar appointment, and a face-to-face. In all of those different jumps, Nimble was there alongside me so I could maintain the conversation effectively. And that's the way I think that modern selling works, is you create these conversations by building your brand and your network, you reel in the ones that matter, and you deepen the relationship till some type of mutual measurable outcome happens, in which case Disney became customers and he became a friend.
That's great. Susan?
Well, it's really interesting. And I think that I found that one of the things that you're talking about, which is sharing information that people find useful, is incredibly good. And it inspires a bit of trust. And
yeah,
I found that it's probably difficult at first to maybe find that area that's not just repetitive, but that at least by like what you're talking about, reading in the morning, then processing and connecting is probably the best approach.
Yeah, it isn't that hard to do. I do it when I'm having my coffee in the morning. And because I'm passionate about technologies that help people build relationships at scale, I read about these things. And so if you're a geologist or you're a marketing or business consultant, you're going to be reading about how to be better in your industry because you're passionate about it and you want to grow and learn. And when you find articles that resonate with you, simply share them. I use something called Buffer to do that. It's an app that allows me to essentially very quickly build a URL with a shortened link, and then I hashtag it and attribute appropriately. And then I share that. And then in the afternoon, I can then go see who's biting on that. So if you think about it, I'm driving my boat down the social business river and I'm dropping fishing lures off the side, and I'm essentially getting bites and I'm reeling them in. So this is a pretty common technique that people are teaching today as far as using content in order to build conversation. But if you do what I say you're supposed to do, which is build identities in all the places where your prospect customers and influencers have conversations, share content in order to create connections and conversations, listen and engage, not with the intent to sell them, but with the intent to find a way to add value, you're going to quickly build thousands, if not tens of thousands of connections, which means you need a database to put them into that will help you to automatically enrich them, but more importantly, to organize them and then follow up in order to drive that relationship into some sort of measurable outcome. And I think that that's where most traditional CRMs fail, is they're not designed to work where you work and they don't work for you. And you basically have to go to use it, and therefore you don't use it. And I think that's one of the reasons why people don't use CRM. And they're really looking for something that is really more helpful to them, and it's really more personal and about relationships. And that's why I got back in the business, because, I just felt like I had more to give.
So how do you react to someone who says, I want to become a TikTok influencer?
Well, my wife loves TikTok. She's always showing me those animal videos and all kinds of funny things. But I'm not sure that the majority of business people listening to this today need to worry about TikTok. But I will say this: LinkedIn isn't all that. In other words, LinkedIn is like walking my business lobby. You're going to learn my business persona. But if you want to build a relationship with me for life, go on a walk with me. Learn about my passions of life. And so if you want to connect with somebody so they'll remember you for life, you need to take the relationship from the business side into a little bit of the personal side. Again, I call that the 5 F's of life: family, friend, food, fun, and fellowship. And in the old days, like I said, we took them home, we took them to the ball game, we took them to dinners. Today, we could bring them into our life, which is things like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, where I not only share business knowledge, but I also share a little bit of my heart and soul. So I share what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about my family. I'm passionate about cooking. I'm passionate about history and archaeology and photography and a bunch of things. And what happens is people see the real me that way, and they connect with me on a deeper level. And so I think that if you're listening to this today, if all you did was build an identity on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, that you'd cover most of the bases for most people. Now, if you want to go check out animal videos on TikTok, you go right ahead. Or you want to get on Clubhouse and talk away, you go right ahead. Because you know what? There's a new platform today, and 2 years from now, there's going to be another new platform. Mm-hmm. And Blab was there 5 years ago, and they just kind of come and go. But it doesn't really matter, because ultimately, what you want to do is figure out where your community has conversations and then get involved in those conversations. Social media is like a cocktail party. You don't walk into a cocktail party and yell as soon as you walk in, "Hey, anybody want to buy some CRM?" Right? You don't do that. You walk into a room, a cocktail party, and you look around. You find a group of people you might want to connect with. You go and stand adjacent to them, and you listen to the conversation for a while in order to get the beat and what they're talking about. And then you jump in when you find a way to add value. And when you do that, somebody might turn to you and go, "Jon, wow, you seem to know a lot about relationship management and CRM. What do you do?" And well, by the way, I invented it. Before our liquor sales force existed, there was GoldMine. And that's the way you build relationships with people. And then when new people walk into the room, they see you having conversations with the thought leaders there. And guess what? All of a sudden, you become a thought leader. So it's that easy to get involved in social, but it's like a jump rope. Remember that thing that kids used to do? Mm-hmm. Somebody has a rope on the side. You just don't run up to it and jump right in. You go stand adjacent to it, get the timing, and then you jump in. And social media is not that much different, but it takes a little bit of listening and skill to know when to jump in, what to say. But the last thing you ever want to say in social is buy my product, right? Or how I'm so great, right? You want to teach people how they can be great, because people don't buy great products. They buy better versions of themselves.
Yep, that's good. And, we are out of time. Never want to be out of time for you, Jon. You're always great. And I have to ask you one final question. I've known you for a lot of years, and I've known you actually when you were with GoldMine briefly. You never have a loss of energy. You're amazing. You go. You're like a road runner. What do you do to stay that active?
I think that I was blessed with a curiosity and a love. Yeah. I think what it is I do what I love. I think it's as simple as that. Yeah. And I hope you hear it in my voice, but I want to leave your guests with a gift. Mm-hmm. If anything I said resonated with you today, which is that your brand and your network are your net worth, and you need to be working on building and nurturing that on a daily basis, then go Google yourself today. Put your name in Google. Do you show up on the first page? If you don't, build a Wikipedia page for yourself. It's easy and it's free. And if you do it properly, you're going to show up on the first page every time they Google you. And that's what you want to do. You want to show up. And if you think that your brand and your network are your net worth, you need to be managing your network on a daily basis. Go try nimble.com. And if it fits you, you could sign up for 40% off. Use the code JON40, JON40, and you'll save 40% off your first 3 months.
And it's not painful. It really isn't. Nimble's fun. There's a lot of fun.
It is.
Because every so often, like you said.
I named it after Fred Astaire when I saw him dancing.
Nimble.
Yeah. And, or small businesses. They all want to be nimble, you know?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And believe me, when you start playing with Nimble and all of a sudden you type in something and a whole mess of other information comes out, you just go, wow, That's pretty cool. It's just out of nowhere, you get tons of info and tons of links from one thing to another to another. It's pretty neat. I've been surprised sometimes at who's in my database. I go, what they get in there? Wow, that's pretty interesting. I still don't even know how that happened. It's like a link of a link wound up coming into my database, and it worked. It was interesting. So there's some really neat stuff in it. You do webinars, I think, every week, right?
We do, yeah. So if you want to come learn about Nimble, come join one of our webinars. We'll teach you how to build and grow your network. You know, Rick, I like to tell people, if you teach people to fish, they'll figure out you sell fishing poles. So we'll teach you how to fish at Nimble.
I love it.
I love that too.
Well, Jon, as always, a pleasure, continued success and fun in what you're doing. And we look forward to seeing you next time. And again, if you have a chance, also find Jon's. You can go back and do a search on YouTube for these. Look at the webinars Jon has done personally where he's interviewing a lot of the quote-unquote industry pundits or anybody else. There's a lot of gold gems in there. It's a gold mine, if you will. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks. If you have any questions, you can leave them down below. And Jon gave you his contact info on Nimble, and have at it. You'll have some fun. Thanks again, Jon.
Thank you.
Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye.
Susan. And we are done.